You're a woman. You wake up one morning and something is wrong. There's blood, no explanation for it, no doctor to call, no pharmacy down the street, no pad, no tampon, no pain reliever, no calendar telling you this was coming. Just blood. And you have no idea why. For 300,000 years, every woman on Earth faced this moment, and they had no modern medicine, no sanitary products, no scientific understanding of what their own body was doing. So what did they actually do? How did ancient women handle menstruation when nothing we use today existed? The answer is more sophisticated, more resourceful, and more fascinating than most people ever consider. Let's start with what we know for certain. Menstruation is not a modern problem. It is as old as our species. Every female human ancestor for hundreds of thousands of years experienced it. And unlike what some people assume, ancient women did not menstruate as frequently as modern women do. This is the first thing that changes how you understand everything else. A modern woman living in an industrialized country has her period roughly 450 times in her lifetime. That number comes from specific modern conditions: delayed first pregnancy, few or no pregnancies, early weaning of infants, low body fat from calorie-controlled diets. These are all recent developments in human history. An ancient woman's reproductive life looked completely different. She likely had her first period later than modern women, around 16 to 17 years old, because reaching menarche requires a threshold of body fat, and ancient women in lean seasons often didn't hit that threshold until later. She would have become pregnant relatively soon after. Pregnancy stops menstruation for 9 months. Then she would have breastfed that child for 2 to 4 years. Prolonged breastfeeding suppresses ovulation. Then another pregnancy. Then more breastfeeding. Anthropologist Beverly Strassmann spent years studying the Dogon people of Mali, one of the few populations still living without modern contraception or feeding practices. She found that Dogon women averaged approximately 100 menstrual cycles in a lifetime, not 450, 100. Ancient women weren't managing periods every month for decades. They were managing them far less frequently, interrupted constantly by pregnancy and lactation. But when periods did come, they still came, and ancient women absolutely had to deal with them. So what did they use? The archaeological record doesn't preserve soft organic materials well. Moss, leaves, animal skins, plant fibers, these decompose. We can't find direct evidence of what ancient women used the way we find stone tools or cave paintings, but we have other ways of knowing. Anthropologists studying traditional societies across the world documented menstrual practices in populations still living without modern products. And the patterns that emerge across completely unconnected cultures on different continents tell us something important about what ancient women likely did. Across documented traditional societies, the most common materials used were moss, soft grasses, animal fur, and strips of softened animal hide. All of them share the same properties: absorbent, soft, available in nature, disposable, or washable. Sphagnum moss appears repeatedly across traditional cultures, from North America to Scandinavia to parts of Africa. It holds up to 20 times its weight in liquid and has mild natural antimicrobial properties. It was almost certainly used for menstrual absorption long before anyone understood why it worked so well. In warmer climates, soft plant fibers and large absorbent leaves served the same function. Papyrus in ancient Egypt, soft grasses across sub-Saharan Africa, wool and linen in early agricultural societies. But here's the part that complicates the simple narrative. Some anthropologists have argued that for truly ancient hunter-gatherer women, the approach may have been even simpler. Free bleeding, simply allowing menstruation to flow without any attempt to absorb or contain it, is documented in some traditional societies and may have been the default for much of human prehistory. In small nomadic groups, moving constantly, fashioning and managing absorbent materials every month may have been less practical than simply wearing minimal clothing and moving through the environment. This isn't primitive, it's practical. Now let's talk about pain, because cramps are not a modern invention. Dysmenorrhea, the clinical term for painful menstruation, is caused by prostaglandins triggering uterine contractions. Ancient women felt this the same way modern women do, and they had responses to it. Yarrow, one of the oldest documented medicinal plants, has been found in Neanderthal burial sites dating back 60,000 years. It contains compounds that reduce inflammation and muscle spasms. It was used across dozens of traditional cultures, specifically for menstrual pain. Ginger root has documented anti-prostaglandin properties and appears in ancient medicinal traditions across Asia, Africa, and the Americas independently. A 2009 study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found ginger as effective as ibuprofen for reducing menstrual pain in clinical trials. Raspberry leaf, wild chamomile, and cramp bark all appear in traditional women's medicine across unconnected cultures. All have documented antispasmodic properties. Ancient women didn't understand the biochemistry, but they knew through generations of accumulated observation what worked. Heat also appears universally. Warm stones wrapped in animal hide pressed against the abdomen, fire proximity. Heat therapy for menstrual cramps is not a modern discovery. It is a human discovery that predates recorded history by tens of thousands of years. Now let's talk about something most history books skip entirely. How did ancient societies actually understand menstruation? Without biology, without microscopes, without any understanding of the reproductive system, menstruation required an explanation. And the explanations ancient cultures developed reveal something profound about how humans make sense of the body. Across the ancient world, menstruation was almost universally understood as powerful, not shameful, powerful. In many hunter-gatherer societies, menstruating women were understood to be in a heightened spiritual state. The Yurok people of Northern California practiced ritual seclusion during menstruation, framed not as contamination, but as a period of concentrated spiritual power requiring focused attention. The Dogon of Mali built separate menstrual houses. Outsiders have framed these as isolation driven by shame, but Dogon women interviewed by Beverly Strassmann described the menstrual house as a break from domestic labor, a place to rest with other women, away from the demands of husbands, children, and fieldwork. Menstrual blood itself was understood across many traditional cultures as connected to the creation of life. Some groups in Papua New Guinea and Aboriginal Australia believed menstrual blood was the substance from which children were formed. An intuitive attempt to connect visible evidence with the mystery of reproduction. The shift toward viewing menstruation as shameful came largely with the rise of patriarchal agricultural societies and religious codification. Leviticus describes menstruating women as unclean. These weren't hunter-gatherer attitudes. They were agricultural ones, emerging in societies where women's bodies had become something to regulate. For most of human prehistory, menstruation was treated as a natural, powerful, communally understood part of female life. Not hidden, not shamed. Just part of being human. And here's what all of this adds up to. Modern women average 450 periods in a lifetime, manage them with laboratory-engineered products, treat pain with pharmaceuticals, and still find the whole experience underserved by medicine and culture alike. Ancient women had roughly 100 periods in a lifetime, managed them with moss and plant medicine built across thousands of generations of accumulated knowledge, and lived in communities that treated menstruation not as something to suppress but as a biological reality to work with. They didn't have ibuprofen, but they had yarrow and ginger and heat and knowledge passed from every woman who came before them. We've medicalized menstruation, industrialized it, and we're still arguing about whether period products should be taxed as luxury items. Ancient women just handled it with what the earth gave them, and a body of knowledge we're only now beginning to take seriously.